Hi guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. I'm Neil at Italia Autos and this is the start of the Fiat Coupe 20 valve turbo restoration. So, customer has kindly provided me with some work to restore his Fiat Coupe. He's okayed me to film a full series of videos on it. So hopefully we're going to have some interesting content on this one. It's a 20 valve turbo. It's one of the late additions on a V-plate, so it's very rare with an unusual spec'd cloth interior on a 20 valve turbo, which I didn't think happened very often. So what we're going to be doing in this video is going through the car top to bottom, seeing what needs doing, what needs replacing, and then in the next few episodes we're going to crack on with the mechanics to get it mechanically sound first, and then we're going to move on to sorting all the rust and bodywork issues out. Straight from the off, you can see the front bumper is missing the lower bit of valance, so we'll have a further look at that up on the ramp at what damage has been caused. Bonnet, oh well, the whole car needs painting, so we'll just assume everything needs doing. We've got a faded badge, discoloured headlights, dent in the front bumper, a little bit of rust coming through here. Here isn't too bad, I can feel a little bit of rust under there. So when we go open the bonnet, we'll have another look at that later. Again, yeah, can feel and can see some rust coming through there, so we'll have a look at that when it's on the ramp. Wheels look okay, not too much curbing. Dents-wise, not too bad. We've got a couple of car park dents, mainly in the door. The rear quarter isn't too bad. Some large chips on the roof. It's been painted at some point because you can see some remnants of paint there. So the roof isn't too bad. A little bit of rust coming through there. That needs repolishing up, but I can get that done a few doors away, so that'll look like brand new. Lots of lacquer peel on there. The rear lights are not too bad. They will be coming out when it's painted. I'll probably leave the light rings in because they are notoriously a pain to get out. Need a rear Fiat badge if you can still get them easily. The rear bumper needs painting, we have some marks on it. Rear screen's okay. Rear wipers a little bit faded and a little bit rusty. Door hands are a little bit faded, but we might be able to bring those back to life. Some rust down the bottom, but we'll check all that out once it's on the ramp. The passenger side of the car for dents is pretty good actually. I can't see too many. Is that a little dent there? I do believe it may be. Let's check the other side. Yeah, we've got a dent there. So that's going to want pulling out a little bit. I didn't see that until just actually. Wing mirrors are going to want masking off and painting. I think probably take them apart. The problem I found when I repainted my Fiat Coupe, the red one, I'll put a link at the end of the video so you can watch that, was these wing mirrors didn't want to come apart and they actually broke taking them apart. So what I'll probably do with this one is mask it all up, retreat the plastic there to get it back into a nice black colour, and that should be good to go. I'll need some wiper blades on them because they are past it. Onto the old interior now. Cloth interior I thought very weird for such a late sort of model car, but I'm sure some people who knows more about the options when these were new can tell me why it's got a cloth interior on a 20 valve turbo. It's got the start button on it as well, which is confusing the heck out of me every time I go to start it. I think it's got a flat battery, and then I realise, oh no, you've got to push the start button. So all clean and tidy on the inside. It's done 100,000 miles. The centre console is in pretty good condition. It is going to need a radio. And some cobwebs cleaning out. We've got a little bit of headlining falling down. It starts and sounds okay. Not going to run it for long because there is a hole in the radiator. And it also needs a cam belt. It's got aircon as well, so it's going to want a new aircon rad as well. So I'm going to have to try and find one of those from somewhere. I wonder if they do use similar ones on the GTVs or old 156s of the same era. So right, let's get it on the ramp now and we shall see how bad it is underneath. Now, you can see here that the front of the car has sustained a little bit of a bump. It looks like something with a tow bar, I'd say, has probably reversed into it. Because you can see sort of a tow bar shaped hole there. The problem we're having is they don't make sort of pattern part radiators for the 20 valve turbo, or that I can't find one anyway. So I'm in need of a AC fan, a cooling radiator and a radiator support. So I need to have a look online for those and see what I can get used or new. I've already got a new front bumper in, or a used front bumper, so that's no issue there. Let's look over the rest of the underside now. We've got a little bit of rust forming here, but you know, it's just crusty, it's not that bad. It's been hit there as well, so that's a little bit out of shape. The AC pipes are still intact. Exhaust front pipe's rusting. I think there's a little pinhole there, so it's going to need a new exhaust front pipe. Hopefully that turbo pipe's okay there. We'll find out more when we strip it down. Front subframe has some rust spots, but nothing major at all. That's perfectly salvageable. The wishbones look a little bit past it, so do the brake discs. Drive shaft is okay. From what I can see of the suspension here, I will look at that in a minute. Rust on the floor pan. Initial thoughts, it doesn't look too bad. Some very slight surface rust starting in a few small areas there, and a few light bits along here. A few bits here and here and here, but again, nothing major, so I'm quite glad that the floor pan is okay. The rear subframe is quite nasty. It's mainly the paint coating which has come off it, I'm thinking, but yet it is quite crusty as well. We'll see what the customer wants to do with that. I'm sure he's going to be watching this video, so we will see and let me know what he wants to do with the rear subframe. Rear shockers, I would say, are a definite replacement because of how rusty they are. All the same on this side, as you can see, it's just peeling back. I don't know how long it's been sitting for, but I would say it's a few years. We're going to want rear springs as well. Shocker on this side again. The exhaust looks like it's about to break there, and it is. So we're going to want an exhaust as well, a complete exhaust, I'd say. The only thing salvageable is going to be the catalytic converter, but I would definitely say the nuts and bolts are going to snap when it comes to taking it off. So we're going to want a front pipe, middle section, or is it one complete section? It's one complete section from the middle back. Fuel tank straps are also a common problem for snapping. And here we go, we have one broken fuel tank strap. So we're going to have to get probably another one of those made up, because I can see them not being available. So overall, the underside isn't too bad at all. I'm actually quite pleased with that. The customer should be very pleased that I don't have to do any rust repairs, or many rust repairs. I imagine it's going to go through there, but we shall see. Brake pipes now. Some corrosion there, so we may want to get some new brake pipes on there. We'll make some up. Yeah, same here. That brake pipe isn't much longer for this world. Now let's have a look at what we can see on the arches and the steering and suspension. Front shockers and springs look okay. It has had some rust treatment under the front arches by the look of it, because it's all black. We do have some rust down there, but that's hopefully just minor, and a little bit there as well. Tyres cracking all along the sidewall, so we're going to want some new tyres. Brake discs are corroded, so we're going to want to get some new ones. Oh, we might get away with the front discs and pads, to be honest. I'll have a word with the customer and see what he wants to do with those. They look as though they might be salvageable. Let's have a look from the back. Yeah, they might be salvageable. I think there's better money spent elsewhere than front discs and pads at the moment. Oh yes, this tyre definitely needs changing. It's definitely seen a better life. The brake discs look as though they're salvageable. The pads, if you can get in to see it, probably about 30% left. Next wheel. Yeah, again, tyre's no good. We should be able to do something with those brake discs. Just a little bit of use and they should be fine. So that'll save the customer some money. It's all an arch liner there, so you can't see. We have got a little friend underneath here. Final tyre and arch. More cracking in the sidewalls. This brake disc is a little bit more rusty. So again, let the customer decide on what he wants to do on those. Spring and shocker looks okay. Initial thoughts are that may have been painted, as it is rusty from behind. Rust again towards the bottom there. A little bit of rust up there behind that. We'll probably take the arch liners out when it gets painted anyway. So overall, the underside of the car isn't too bad. We should be able to salvage the discs and pads, which is quite good, but we do need 4 new tyres all round and some new suspension components like wishbones, and I'm going to get sun in my eyes, and some rear shockers. Front shockers look as though they'll be okay, but we'll see once we take the wheels off. So let's have a look around the bodywork now and see what needs doing rust repairs wise. This lower part of the wing is salvageable. Salvageable seems to be my new favourite word of the day. No holes come through, so that's hopefully just surface rust. And again, all underneath, but that will take some work to do. It's going to want lots of sanding. This looks quite bad. Still solid. It's being in such a tight space, that's going to be quite awkward to get rid of the rust. So hopefully a wire wheel can get in there and enable better coverage. Hopefully that hasn't expanded too much. It has expanded a little bit either side, so we may want some rust repairs behind there, a little bit of welding maybe. Rest of the rear arch, surface rust really. I can't feel too much here. It's expanding on the inside as well. So that's going to be quite difficult to get rid of. Lower rear bumper, no extra holes cut for the exhaust. A little bit of damage here, but that little bit of filler will sort that out. This arch isn't too bad, it's just here again. It's not gone through. A little bit on the corner here. There you go, you got a little hole coming there, look. So we'll want a little bit of a clean that up and weld a small patch on it. And the last one, again this side isn't too bad, there's only light surface rust on the wings, but they will be coming off to get painted anyway. Now let's go under the bonnet. Will it stay up? Will it stay up? Yes! It stays up under its own power. Right, initially I can see plenty of rust here. Repairable, I don't know, without welding. Oh yeah, that's very crusty there, so might have to see if we can get a better bonnet. So onto the engine. The customer has told me that the alternator has seized, so while the radiator and everything's out, we can put a new alternator on it and a new alternator belt. I know that they are a really fun task to put a new alternator belt on these because it's very, very tight. We're going to need to put a new cam belt and water pump on it. But as you can see, and I think I said in my last video, there's not much room to do these. So you do have to wiggle the engine about in the bay quite substantially to get everything off. The suspension turrets don't have any rust on top of them. Just plenty of dead spiders and cobwebs. It's going to want a full service. Is that a rust hole there? Yes, it is. So we may want to look at getting a front panel on it. Again, up to the customer what he wants to do with that. But yeah, we'll give it a full service, cam belt, water pump, brake fluid, power steering fluid. And it should be good to go. It does run now. I haven't run it for very long because there's a massive hole in the radiator. So we definitely don't want to cause any more problems. So yeah, other than that, it shouldn't be too bad, all in the engine bay. So guys, that is the Fiat Coupe. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it's a good contender for restoration. The owner has obviously got some sentimental value with it, but these are getting rare now, so every single one of them's worth saving. It's not too far gone in the rust department, but we will find out more once we strip it all down in a few weeks, months' time. We are back with the Fiat Coupe. I think that's going to be the only video for the foreseeable future because I've got that much to do on it. So today, I hope to be taking the front end apart, removing the radiator and all the other damaged parts and seeing how much it's going to cost me to replace all those. Also going to remove the alternator. I want to get it over to my guy over in Birmingham to get it fully refurbished. And I also want to start doing the cam belt. So I'm going to start by stripping the front end off, put everything in the boot all together so nothing goes missing because it's going to be there for a while. I'm going to try and do all the mechanics on the front end first just because it makes sense. The rear end's going to be the harder one to do. And at least once the front end's done, the car will still be mobile until the rear subframe gets taken off. But spoken to the customer since the last episode, he is all happy to go ahead with the full repairs. Even wants new disc and pads all the way around and new shockers and springs. So we've definitely got my work cut out for me on this one, but it's going to be an amazing car once it's finished. So let's get cracking and get this car apart. Handy tip is when you've got Phillips screws to undo and they're not coming undone easily with a normal screwdriver, get a ratchet attachment because you get a lot more purchase on the screw and you're pretty much guaranteed to get it off and not to round it. What's happened with these two screws here is the clip underneath which they screw through has rusted away, so it's just spinning. As this bumper is scrap, I can just pull it off and stick it in the bin. This front panel here is non-existent as well, there's not much left on that. Let's get this radiator support off now. Hopefully the bolts don't break. Well, that's just rounding now. Ugh. The joys of restoring old cars is nothing comes apart. one of the 4 bolts have came out, that's it. Oh, I've only been working on it for 20 minutes and I'm filthy already. All done. Well, the cooling fan still spins, but it is actually out of shape. So we shall see if we can get a new or a used one of those that we can get to looking like new again. Now on to removing the alternator. I've already removed the 2 electrical connections. I'm going to have to remove this pipe here to allow the alternator to come out. There is 1 bolt at the bottom, which you can't see, just there, and another one behind. So I'm not going to do this one on camera, just for the fact it's going to be quite difficult for you to see it. So jump cut to me pulling this alternator out. There we go, 1 seized solid alternator removed. Gonna make a few phone calls to see how much it's going to cost to do this one, have a word with the customer, get it sent off, and then we can start cracking on with the cam belt. Now it's time to tackle the cam belt. As you can see, you haven't got much room here at all, so I'm going to pull the coolant bottle out of the way. It gives me access to some bolts on the side cover here. Strip the top of the engine off, strip everything off on the side of the engine I need to take off, and then we should be good to crack on doing the cam belt. After about 20 minutes of faffing around, moving the engine bolts, trying to make sure none of them broke, I have managed to get all the engine mounts off. Move the engine over probably about 1 inch, 2 centimetres. Managed to get my little ride bit down in there to undo the 2 further bolts. So now we should be able to just lift the cover out. And now we have the challenging part of moving the engine over a little bit further, so we can get the water pump out and the tensioners off. Because I bet this car's probably never ever had them. Just been setting up the timing on the engine before I take the belt off, just to make sure everything was okay. It's now at TDC. The intake cam is perfectly lined up, and the exhaust cam is just a smidge out. I'd probably say that's near enough half a tooth, probably. So what I've got to do now is take the belt off, get all the timing set up, remove the water pump, and fingers crossed we can get everything off without any issues. Cam belt is now removed. It needed changing, but it wasn't cracking too badly. That was probably over 7 years since that cam belt was done. One out, but I've now going to drop the bolt. It's so fiddly just getting down to these bolts. The question is there enough room to get the tensioner off? I don't think there's going to be. Nope. I need to move that engine over some more, but first of all I'm going to get the water pump out as well. The water pump is now removed, but struggling for room to get it out. Get more bits off to make some room. Now give me plenty of room to get that water pump out. Ta-da! There we go. That is a very, very old tensioner. As you can see, it's like the acrylic plastic one. So we'll be putting a proper metal one in there. Tensioner is now back on. Now to put the other tensioner on, and then finally the water pump. You can see two different style water pumps, one with a plastic impeller which is prone for cracking, and the metal impeller one. Let's fit the seal. And now just make sure the surface is all clean. Give it a wipe over. Make sure the bottom of the water pump housing is also clear. Tell you what, it's absolutely boiling in the unit today. It feels like it's about 40 degrees. Feels like I should be sunning myself on a beach, not stuck in a garage. What I'm doing is just nipping each side of the water pump up first. I'm not going to do it tight at all because I need to make sure that water pump goes in nice and centre. Because if it doesn't, you can damage the seal. So that is the hard part done now. All the tensions are off. I'll torque them all up in a minute. First of all, I'm going to get the cam belt on. Now I'm using an SKF kit, which is my my second preference other than dealer fit. So what I'm finding ordering parts for this is no one's got anything at the minute. I'm assuming it's all because of lockdown and restricted travel. What I'm really struggling to get hold of are the brake discs at the minute. Called my local motor factors and they can't get any. I've used my normal online part suppliers. Nope, they haven't got any either. Get pads, not a problem, I've got pads, but the old discs, can't get them at the moment. Remind me before I put the belt on, I need to move that cam round and then tighten it up again, otherwise the timing's still going to be out. All in time, in time. Let's get the belt on now. Belt on. Belt's all tensioned up now. I didn't record it because it's exactly the same process as on my twin spark video, so I will put a link into that now, or at the end of the video anyway. Remove the cam locks, rotate the engine twice, recheck the timing, and then pop it all back together. So let's rotate that now. I think top dead centre must have moved when I put the belt on, so the timing's out again. So what I'm going to do, take the belt off, time it all up again properly, and then we should be good. Engine's all timed up now. I've rotated the engine twice, torqued everything back up. So what I'm going to do now is just button it all back together now. And I am stuck waiting for some parts, still I can't get a rocker cover, and I'm stuck waiting for spark plugs because I forgot to order them, being silly me. But as the car runs okay, I can change the spark plugs and the gasket afterwards. But yeah, it's still a long wait for the gasket. I think about 4 or 5 days until that can come in, which is very annoying. So right, let's get this all back together now. So there's going to be no starting of the engine today because the alternator's not going to be back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a little bit of service work. I'm going to change the oil and change the air filter. So let's get cracking with that. I've seen worse for 7 years old. Genuine one going back in. We're all clean in there, no cobwebs or dead things. Now on to the sump plug. Somebody has already given it a go and rounded it off. So what we're going to try and do is see if we can get something a little bit bigger and a little bit differently shaped in there, and we'll see if we can get it undone. If not, I'm going to have to suck the oil out of it and deal with this later. I have my doubts whether this is going to work. Oh no, it worked. So another part to order is a new sump plug, which I should have ordered already, really. Well, the oil filter isn't in the easiest places to access. It is just up inside there. If I can get the phone through there, you can just about see it there. I have loosened it off a little bit. There we go, one oil filter removed. And there's all the old radiator aluminium corrosion. Genuine oil filter being used. Let's just lubricate up the seal. I have put some more oil into the filter itself as well. Not really much for you to see there, is there really? Well, there's the little pinhole in the exhaust again for you to see. Right, let's tighten that up and then we're all done. Right, I think I'm at the point now where I can't really do any more on it today because I'm waiting for parts. Can't put any oil in it because I've got no sump plug. Can't start the engine because I've got no alternator. Can't start it because there's no oil in it. So let's down tools on it today, wait for some more parts to arrive, and then I can do another episode on it next week, doing the rest of it. So my next question to you guys is, what can we do with this front slam panel? I know they are nigh impossible to get hold of in good condition. I have seen a few people take them off, blast them and repaint them, but as this one is quite corroded, especially here, what can we do? I don't think it's going to be very easy to weld to it because it is just thin tin. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you can do. I've also got to do something with cleaning up all this rust down here and making it look presentable. But at the moment we haven't got to quite worry about that because we've got to get the slam panel off first, and I wonder how many bolts on that will break. Well, today we're back with the Fiat Coupe. As you can tell, I'm sheltering under the bonnet. I've had loads of new parts arrive for it. I am still waiting for more parts to arrive, but today we're going to be refitting the alternator and doing a little bit more work on it, trying to get the engine running again at least so it can be moved on and off the ramp, and then a little bit more restoration work. So see you in a minute. So first job is to refit the alternator. I've had to get this one fully refurbished. We did have a few issues with it because it was totally seized, so it's been fully rebuilt. The casing had also cracked in a couple of places, so we've had to get that welded up as well. As you can see there and there. So we are all good now. We've got pretty much a brand new alternator. So let's get that fitted. we go, that was relatively straightforward. So let's put the AC pump back on now, and then the really annoying belts to put back on. Now, because the front end of the car's off, it's a little bit easy to do the belts, but generally they are quite difficult to do because you've got no access at all. So let me show you what you've got to do. Now, the power steering belt, which is the easiest one to do, you just have to undo these two nuts here, and then this tensioner will slacken off, and you can then get the belt off. But as you can see, with your oil cooler up here and your front bumper on, they're not easy to do. And even worse is the alternator belt, because you've got to get it over a tensioner, which is behind there. So let's lower the car down a bit more so we can have some better access to get this belt on first. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've done one of these, so it's going to probably be a struggle for me. Right, well, I've got the belt on now. That was absolute nightmare because the tensioner had seized. I never bothered filming it because, to be all honest, I forgot to push record. But yeah, these tensioners are a pain. So I've only done a few of them over the years, but even just to remove one of them is an absolute nightmare. Really, it's the most stupidest setup because the tensioner pivots by using this screw, but you can't move the pivot once it's seized. You have to sort of disassemble everything to move the tensioner. Now it's all been lubricated up and put back together. Just need to put this screw back in and tension her up now. Once you've tensioned the belt up, you should be able to just turn it 90 degrees, if that's too much. There we go. And now we just need to tension up the other one. So we're all buttoned up now. I've tensioned all the belts up correctly and popped the top cover back on there. I did forget to do the bracket for the coolant pipe, so I had to undo a few bolts to put that on. But now we're all done and we're ready to start it up. So let's see if it fires up. That doesn't sound too bad. I only let it run for a few seconds because, as you've seen, there's no radiator or anything on it at the moment, so there's no point running it for any longer than that. I am still waiting for the cooling fans to come. I've ordered a used set of those, so I'm probably going to want to refurb those before I fit them. So we're a little bit at a standstill with the engine and cooling side of things now, so I'm going to carry on with the front support now. So hopefully we can get that covered in a nice coat of stone chip today. So now I'm going to continue with the front valance thing here, the engine support, radiator support. So what I've decided with the customer is to paint it in stone chip rather than paint it black. Because of the amount of rust that was on it before, there's loads of pot marks left on it. So with stone chip, it's a lot thicker, so it's going to hide it a little bit more. Plus, it's a lot more hard wearing. Amazingly, the front panel has come off without any bolts snapping at all. There's 4 13mm that hold it on, and then 1 10mm, which is just sort of a connector for some oil pipes. So that's the condition of it. What I'm thinking about doing is cutting a section out here, trying to copy it out of some sheet metal I've got. And I'm also going to, there's some welds along there. I'm going to cut that off just below the welds. So if at any point we do need to build or fabricate something, there's going to be something there to weld to still. So I'm going to strip all this down now. And once I've grinded it all back with a wire wheel, we shall see what sort of condition we've got. Okay, a little bit more progress. I didn't bother filming any of this because I was too busy concentrating on trying to get it done. I have sanded it all down. And I've also welded a patch into there. Yeah, it's not going to look the best because it's the thinnest of metal, but it's going to look a darn sight better than it did before. There was also a couple of little pinholes here, so I have filled those as well. So let's carry on prepping this and see how it looks in a coat of primer. I imagine it's not going to look the best, but at least it's not got a massive piece missing from it now. And there we go, because the stone chip is a lot thicker, it does hide a lot of the defects in the panel. It's not going to look the prettiest, but it's going to last a lot longer than if we just painted it again. So I'm here now with my friend's 4C. He's going to be taking me for a little spin in it, which I'm rather looking forward to, because it's one of the Alphas I've not had a chance to have a spin in yet. But what a beautiful car. When you hear like, oh, it's 280 brake with the Rema, yeah, you forget how light it is, don't you?
800 kilo, something like that, 900 yeah. Tops.
Yep, that flies nicely, that does.
Yeah, it's not a bad little car for well, for the price as well. Yeah, it's going to be. It's not much that can do. Also, I mean, the book's at 4.4, aren't they? So, well, that's standard.
Yeah.
With the extra 40 odd brake horsepower, I think it's booked at something like 3.8, 3.9. So you're a bit like Ferrari and McLaren's,
which is good.
Which is great. That exhaust makes all the right
yes,
sense.
It does. It definitely got a nice little burble to it.
Yeah.
And on the overrun, you got a nice little bit of splutter.
pleased with it, to be fair. Like I say, I don't use it that much, and I'll use the Julia most of the time, but it certainly looks the part, and sounds really nice as well. I mean, you get quite a few admiring glances.
You got me tempted now because it's less than a Julia, but I don't think the wife would appreciate only having 2 seats.
No, I mean, if you're going to keep the Jeep, then it's probably not too much of a bad. You know, it kind of makes sense, probably.
Yeah, the only thing for me is I like my comfort still. I think that's what I learned with the Abarth. The Abarth was stupidly hard, stupidly noisy, especially at 70 miles an hour down the motorway.
Yeah, I mean, one of these is nice to kind of maybe take to an Alpha show, or a couple of meets or whatever, or even if you fancy just having a drive around. I'll pop around in the Litchfield or something or whatever. But,
yes.
You know, outside of that, somebody was saying to me, you know, should we go for a picnic to the beach? Which originally I thought that's what I would do. Do you know what
we did the other day?
What's that?
We were just bored and we like this gin called Aber Falls, and you can only really buy it in Wales or order it online. Nice sunny day, and we said, should we go out for a drive in the Abarth? Where can we get this Aber Falls gin from in Wales? So we drove just sort of the other Welsh pool we had to go to, and we bought 2 bottles of gin. That's all we did. Afternoon out to go and buy 2 bottles of gin.
Wow. And what car do you use? A Jeep?
The Abarth.
The Abarth. Yeah, to be fair, I do like the Abarths, I have to say. I mean,
they're cracking cars. It's just they are small. You've got this, so you know there's more room in the Abarth than this.
Yeah, but it's not uncomfortable, is it? I mean,
it's really comfortable.
6 foot odd blokes.
Yep.
And you know, it's not. You know, we're not like on each other's shoulders.
I mean, my knee, you know, my legs touching there, but I'm not getting your floor dirty, unfortunately. So I'll give you a cleaning job for after. Been busy doing a little bit of work on the coupe this morning. I've done it off camera. I have stripped the front suspension out of it. I have derusted this arch. I haven't done the other side yet. I will probably film more on the other side for you. But this side isn't too bad. No welding was needed. I've sanded all the rust down, or grinded all the rust down with a wire wheel. There was some crusty bits all up inside there. That's all gone up inside there now. We've just got some rust treatment on it now, drying. Give this a few hours to dry, and then I shall put some acid etch primer on it, and then hopefully a coat of stone tube. But none of that's going to get done tonight because it's got to come off the ramp again tonight because I've got some more work in the rest of the week. So I've got to put it back together probably once it's had its acid etch on, and then get it off the ramp tonight. What I'm also going to be doing now is putting the sun plug on because that has finally arrived. A little bit of extra oil to drain out. I have put the washer on there as well if you can't see that. Let's nip that up and we can put some oil in it. I've also had to remove one of the brake pipes because it is rusty in several places. And as I've gone to remove it, it's broken literally 3 places. So yes, it's a good job this car is having a light to heavy restoration before it goes back on the road. Right, I've just put some stone chip on after letting it dry overnight. So the front passenger arch is now all done. I've still got to do the brake pipe, but we're almost there with that. I just need to do another joining piece to get that through there. Let that dry. I've also got the suspension turret ready to go on. Right, I have just removed the suspension from the coupe, or coupe as some of you may like to call it. We've got rust pretty much all the way along here. This is going to want some welding. It's still solid under there. Got a little hole down there, but at least we've got pretty good access to it all. So yeah, let's get rubbing it all down, get the wire wheel on it, and see what we're left with at the end. Okay, so that little patch down there isn't too bad. Sorry, I can get you to focus on that better. See, that's just going to need a little bit welding in there. That's not bad at all. I will cut it a bit further away because you can see it's gone behind there as well. But now that's not too bad. The awkward part is there where the mountings are for the it's normally the brake cover, and it holds the pipes. It has just rusted away. So what I think is going to be better is to tidy it all up, remove all the rust from around here, and make 2 new mounts to go here, and I think there's another one around here, to either weld on or screw on. Probably going to be welded on, to be honest, because it'll look a little bit more professional. And then this side will be ready to be all done up again. I need to take the water bottle out as well, so I can do right the way behind the arch. I have also ordered 2 repair panels for here, so it should pretty much replace from there down, and that's for both sides. So I have got to just cut this brake pipe because this has already been changed once in its life. So I just had to cut the end off because it had started to rust away. So I can put another end on that without any issues at all. And next, yeah, it's just how far up there has it gone here? We've got some rust up there, but that's not too bad. So we need to clean all that up as well and treat it all. The rest of the arch isn't bad, it's just in the normal places, to be honest, but that isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I'm at the stage now where I have cut out a few holes. I have got rid of as much rust as possible from within the wheel arch. So I'm going to leave this to dry overnight now, and this is either going to be the end of the episode now, or you shall see me after the weekend when I have continued work on the coupe. So there we go, got a fair bit done on the old coupe bay today. We have got the alternator refitted, we've got the engine working again, we've stripped out the arch, got ready to do a bit more welding on it. Right, this episode we're going to be removing the rear subframe. To do that, we've got to take the exhaust off, remove the rear cover, take the fuel tank off, and then drop the subframe down. So we're going to start with the exhaust. It's not in the best of conditions, to be honest, but the customer wants me to try and salvage it, as this rebuild is quite an expensive one. But in my honest opinion is, I don't think there's much point in saving it because it's not going to last much longer. It's all rusty behind here, and it is a little bit bent. So we're going to remove that now and see what condition it's in. Yeah, we might as well snap. There we go. I bet that's not going to come apart easily. Well, it started moving. Right, that was actually surprisingly easy to take that exhaust off. So now we need to remove this rear valance so we can then get these fixings off for the fuel tank. Oh, broken. I thought that one would. Well, typically this little nut here, which has to come off, has rusted away. So what I'm going to have to do is pull the fuel pump out, so I can then remove the tank and then have a look at that without the tank being in the way. There we go, one fuel tank removed, with only a little bit of fuel spillage. But I did manage to get the fuel tank as empty as possible. So the question is now, shall I leave the fuel pump hanging there and remove the subframe, and then I haven't got to mess with that just yet, or shall I crack on with that? I think I'm going to remove the subframe first. Let's just cable tie that up out the way somewhere. Right, we're now ready to drop the subframe. I've been in the back, disconnected the ABS sensors. I've also had a look at rust in the inner rear seals. Can't really show you here because there's not enough light or room to get back in. The driver's side lower inner sill is pretty much free from rust, but the driver's side one does have some rust on the inside, but we should be able to repair that. Right, the subframe itself isn't too bad. We've got a rusty brake pipe here, a little bit of corrosion on the brake balancer, but we can clean that up and redo that, that's not a problem. The suspension mounts are fine, a little bit of surface rust, but nothing to stress over at all. A little bit more on this side, but it's not too bad. So now we want to get this onto a pallet in the air so I can start stripping it all down. Right, now leave me to get this stripped down to all of its individual components, and join me once it's all stripped down. Right guys, there we go, we're all stripped down. Nothing was particularly difficult to remove. There was a couple of stubborn bolts, but nothing's snapped on me. I did have to cut a few of the brake pipes, or 2 brake pipes, because the joints weren't going to come undone, but they were going to get replaced anyway, so that doesn't matter. The worst bit seems to be these rear arms. Now to me, it does seem as though it looks worse than it actually is. Basically from the factory, these have got a little covering on them, and most of the covering is coming off. There is a little bit of metal coming with it, but I am hoping when I sandblast these, they will all come up nice and clean. The other issue we've got is these brake backing plates. They're going to disintegrate probably if I blast those, so we'll have to see what happens. The wheel bearings on both the rear ends are perfectly fine. ABS sensors are okay. Whether they'll come out for when I sandblast them, we don't know. So I will need to check and make sure they are available to purchase if I do need to get some, because I do need to be careful removing them if I do need to. Subframe itself, perfectly fine. I am going to be replacing the mounts, giving it a good blast, and getting that to be looking like new. Got the subframe all stripped down now. This is the extent of the rust. That is the worst bit there on the mounts there, so I need to see if I can get some more of those. That is the outer mount for the mounting point, which needs taking out. I forgot to do that, but as you can see, that is rather rusty, so it is a good job these mounts were being changed. So this subframe is too big for my sandblaster, so I am just about to take it off to a company to get it blasted for me. So I shall see you in a minute when hopefully we've got a nicely cleaned subframe. While the subframe is away being blasted, I have been carrying on with the underside of the coupe. So let's have a look at what I've been doing. All under here, I had quite a bit of rust, so I've managed to get under here and treat all the rust and then give it a rather thick stone chip. I've done all the boot well as well as the other chassis leg as well. So we're all good here. Right guys, got the subframe back yesterday evening. I've given it a quick coat of rust inhibitor, and now I'm going to be giving it a nice coat of acid etch and then painting it black. Subframe is now all done. I'm just going to leave that to dry. It's had the coat of acid etch, let that dry for a few hours, and I've now coated it in a base coat of just standard black and a nice coat of lacquer. So we shall leave that to dry overnight. Fingers crossed some more parts arrive today, tomorrow, so I can start rebuilding it. So what's left to do now? The subframe needs finishing off. I will finish that in the next episode. I'm waiting for some parts to come, the bushes for the subframe, some brake pipes, so I can start rebuilding that. And this week we're going to be getting everything finished on the underside of it, stripping it down and getting it ready for some paint. So I've been super busy off camera. I've been putting all the subframe back together and putting brake discs on it. I've put the wheels back on it now. I've bled all the brakes, done everything that needed to be done. So pretty much now we can get the car off the ramp and start doing the bodywork. But unfortunately, we have found some more rust. So really, I should have checked this before, but yeah, my own fault, I didn't check. I've removed the arch liners because I was going to start to prep the rest of the lower areas here to start getting ready for paint. As you can see, I have refitted the subframe. The rear backing plates are still the old ones at the moment. I need to find some more still. Somebody did put a comment on one of the threads that you can buy these, so I'm going to have a look into that for the customer. Rear subframe's all fitted. I've started doing all the brake lines and I'm just making a mess now of all my nice clean work, but it's only dust, it'll all come off before I finish welding. It's only dust, it'll all come off before I finish it. So I have started a bit of work on this here. I did find some holes all the way along here, so I have cut out the outer panel just so I can see what I've got left to work with. And I do need to fill in 2 patches along here. I need to weld in another lip behind the boot lid, and I've also got to weld in another lip all the way down there. So I have been in contact with the customer, and we're all okay to go ahead with this. So leave it with me while I repair the welding on this, and hopefully once I've got all that fitted and the fuel tank refitted, I can start prepping the rest of the bodywork. So leave it with me now. I am going to get this welding done. The other side is okay. I will show you that now actually. So yeah, as you can see, the other side, yeah, there's a little bit of crusty bits, but nowhere near as bad as the other side. It just so happens that the driver's side was the side that spent many years sitting against a bush and a wall, so that would explain why it's worse on the driver's side than the passenger side. So leave me to it now. I'm going to crack on and get this welding finished, and then hopefully we can get the fuel tank fitted. Right, re-welded this part here, and we are looking good to go. We can now weld the part on the outside. I've also welded a little bit in here as well. I do need to finish this side off because we've got a little bit more rust behind there to get rid of. But this side is pretty much good to go. There we go. We are all done now. Both parts have been welded in. It's not going to be the most tidiest of jobs because it's going to be hidden behind an arch liner. All the rust is now gone. I've even spot welded the 2 parts that I've put in together, so we can now put some seam sealer all the way underneath it, and it shouldn't cause us any more problems. So I have been a very busy boy off camera. I have completed the subframe, put it all back together with new brake pipes, new suspension, new springs, new discs and pads. I am in the process of sorting out the fuel tank straps, and that can be put on, so that is really the last job I need to do before it can come off the ramp. All the underside has been rust treated. One last bit left to do, which I forgot to do, but everything on the underside is all now totally rust free. If you did notice, we are still missing the exhaust. I have ordered a new one. That should be here sometime mid to end of January. So then we can get that fitted. So that piece of rust can go in the bin. I also need to order some new number plates for it, but that's a way off yet because we need to finish everything else first. So all the hard work is now done. We can just start prettifying it now. So let's get it off the ramp and start stripping it down. Right, let's get stripping it down now. So what I've got to do, I've got to take the headlights off, front badge off, the wipers, the scuttle panel beneath it. I've got to take off the wing mirrors. I've got to take off the indicators. I may take off those front wings. I've got to take the rear badge off. I've got to take the door handle off. I've got to take the lower window seal trim off. I've got to take the boot lid off. I've got to take the rear lights off, the rear badge, the rear lock, and the filter flap. And that is, I think, all we've got to take off. So I'm going to get cracking on that now. So enjoy the montage of me stripping the car down. there we go. No particular massive problem stripping all that down. The only snap bolt I had was a 10mm bolt on the bottom of one of the wings, but I can get in and drill that out. That's not a problem. So what I need to do now is mark a lot of the dents up that I can see by eye, so I can start working on those. Right, I haven't got another paint pen, so I'm going to mark them with masking tape and then sand them one by one. A lot of the others will become apparent with the way you sand it down with a long block and a little bit of black paint over the primer, and you will see a lot more of the dents. Now we had got that rather large dent here. I'm sure there's plenty on the doors. We'll see those more when I sand it all down. Now there is another long one along there. Now I know there's quite a few on this door as well, so I will do those when I've got a little bit more light. It would be nice if we had a few warm days in January so I could get outside in the sun and see the dents a little bit easier. There's one down there. Now I always see pretty much every Fiat Coupe I've ever owned, seen, saw has got some form of dent along the front lip of the bonnet. I reckon it's probably because there's not much actually to the front end, and guaranteed that'll be the first thing you'll bump into when you're parking. Let's have a look at the roof. I think we're all good there. Now I've covered the hole for the fuel so we don't get any more bits in there. We've got a little bit of rust in here which will need sorting out. I knew I would do some marks over here when I was removing it because it is pretty much well and truly stuck in normally. So I am going to have to sand these back. But other than that, I've had no major nasty surprises. We do have some paint peeling here and a bit of rust. So that is going to be an extra bit I'm going to have to paint because I wasn't going to do inside the door shuts. So we'll have to let Mr. Customer know about that there. Here he's okay. So what I'll probably end up doing is masking around the boot lid, getting these stuck down there so I can paint all underneath there. The light caps are going to stay in. If you put your fan pattern when you're painting on quite a low pattern, small pattern, you can get in there and paint them okay. Last time I did them I did manage to get a run, so I will be extra careful when I'm doing that. We've got all around the arches to get back to bare metal and remove every single scrap of rust. Rust treat it, flat it back down again, get some light coat of probably just a filler putty on there, not an actual filler, and then that should be good to go. Find the rest of the dents on both the doors and the rear quarters when I can see a little bit better, and I can see one now. Did you see that? There is one here. You do have a little bit of lacquer peel coming on the bonnet as well, just there. So what's to be done now? All these parts I've marked up. I am just going to give them a quick 240 sand so I can see them a bit easier. Then going to get the car outside, give it a wash, degrease it, get rid of all the contaminants and everything off there that could react when I'm painting or putting primer down. Get the bodywork nice and clean, prep it all up, so get it dirty again and dusty again, and then I'll give it another wash, let it thoroughly dry, mask it all up, and then we can put some primer on it. This is where I had the 1-bolt brake, but also as you can see there's rust under here, so it is quite a good job that I did take these wings off to paint them. A lot of people would leave these on, but good job I removed that, so I'm going to have to drill that. I am going to have to remove all the rust, get this up here behind the door so it doesn't go missing. And yes, I am going to be removing the Fiat badge as well, but I'll be doing that a bit later. Hi guys, welcome to another episode on the channel. Ignore my dirty face because I have been painting and I think I've got a little bit of lacquer stuck on my face there. Right, as you can see behind me, the Fiat Coupe is now all painted. In this episode, we will be prepping the bodywork, getting rid of all the dents, priming it, flattening the primer down, and then giving the car a good coat of paint. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because quite a few of you that watch these are not subscribed, so that would be grateful if you could do that for me. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the episode, and speak to you in a minute. What I'm just doing now is using the orbital sander just to get a better key onto the surface where I'm going to be putting the filler, just to make it adhere a little bit better. And I have now purchased a brand new tool. This is a nice little Dremel which I've ordered. I think I paid about £70 for it. But a whole bunch of different attachments to go with it. So in little tight to reach areas like this, it's a lot easier to remove all the rust. And now what I'm just doing, there was a broken bolt there, so I'm just drilling and retapping it. So over the last sort of probably a week, the car's been stripped down. I'm yet to prepare all the parts I've taken off. They're going to be done after I have done the body. But I have been around the whole car, got rid of I think pretty much all the dents I could possibly find. There's been a few little rust spots which I've had to nib down and touch in. So let's have a walk around and I'll tell you what I've done. So we'll start at the front end. All the dents that I marked up last time on the bonnet, they've all been done, filled in. I've rubbed down the whole bonnet. We also can say hello to Sadie in this episode. She's come to work because she's been a little bugger at home and she's barking during the day when she's on her own. So that's her little hint to she wants to come to work with me. So right, back to the subject. The hardest dent to do was this one here, because it had actually pushed the bonnet out up to there and there was all sort of creases and dents, so I had to sort of hammer them all flat, fill them in, and now we are back to being a nice flat bit of panel. We did have a little bit of rust coming through here, so that's all been treated, filled, and all underneath has been treated as well. I didn't find many dents on this door. There was probably about 3 or 4. That wasn't bad to do at all. Big dent along here was quite a pain in the backside actually, because again, like with the front dent on the bonnet, it had rippled the panel, so I had to hammer it all back into shape, and then a couple of coats of filler, and it was all done. I've also treated all underneath the arches. I've grinded all the rust away, retreated it, and now once it's cleaned off we can give it a nice coat of acid etch on all the metal which is showing. A little dent here turned out to be quite big actually. It was quite a large dent indeed. Rear lights, not a problem to prepare that area in there. Found a little bit of rust here which I've treated. I'm going to be sanding and painting all inside here. I have given it a quick once over, but I do need to do it again. The dents that were around here have all gone, and that little bit of rust has been treated as well. Again, there was another big dent here which has all been sanded down and filled. This was the worst door. There was probably about 5 or 6 little dents on there which have been nibbed away. And the roof was perfectly fine. There was just one massive stone chip here which I had to sand down. So now, let's get the car outside, clean it off, and let's get it all masked up today, and fingers crossed I can get it in some primer as well. What I'm just doing here is a few little tar spots that I've missed that still hadn't been sanded out, so just using a light grit sandpaper just to get rid of them. Just a few around, and found them all in the end, and now they're all gone. So the whole point of washing it is just to get rid of as much dust and contaminants as possible. Now I need to thoroughly dry the car. I'm going to go it over with a few rags, and then I'm going to get the airline in all the crevices to make sure everything's nice and dry. And then once it's in the booth and masked up, all the bare bits of metal, I can then put some acid etch on. Right, car is now in the booth. I have dried it all off. I'm now going to be about to mask it all up, but I am going to do it off camera, so we shall just jump cut to a nicely masked car. Now the morning after, we are now all masked up, so what I need to do now is give it a final degrease and a wipe over with some tack cloths, and then we can get this primer on. Can't believe I've missed a dent as big as that. Oh well, I expected a few dents that I'd have to sort out, but not one quite that big. Right, now the following day again, all primered and all ready to go. Let's just show you. So everything's been covered in primer. I've also put an etch coat on it, just so I can now flat it all back and get the primer nice and smooth, ready for the paint. Now when I flat this back, I am going to dry flat it, because it's a lot quicker, it's a lot less messier. Yes, it's dustier, but it's a lot less messier. So what I'll do is I'll flat it all in the booth, then clean the booth out again, make sure it's all dust free, and then we can crack on to painting it. So let's get cracking with flattening the car down. It's going to take me a good few hours, I'd imagine. Now, what I've started doing all over the car is flattening it back. So what I'm doing is using a flat pad with a 400, 500 grit sandpaper on there. And I'm just sanding it back. As you can see, it all starts to smooth out. You can see how rippled some of the primer was. So carry on sanding. Until it goes nice and smooth like that. Yes, there might be some little bits of black left in there, but we're not going for a show paint job. We just want nice smooth primer to work with. So leave me to crack on doing all this, and I will get the rest of the car done. I've got the driver's side left to do, and I have got the boot lid to do. Right, it's now a few hours later, and I have finished doing most of the rubbing down. But one of the reasons why you do this is so you can see things like that As you can see, where I've passed the flat sander over it, it's left that there, which means there's a dip in the bodywork and there's a dent that I couldn't quite feel, but now I can. So I need to get some very slim putty and pop some in that dent there and give the whole booth a good de-dusting. And then on to the next stage. So there we go, it is now all painted. I never bother recording loads of it because it's quite boring footage for you to watch. So I've managed to also finish prepping the rear bumper, the front arches and wing mirrors and a few other bits and bobs. So they're all in there with the rest of the car now. So I'm going to give that a few days to harden up. I've also managed to start prepping this front bumper, but there were a few sort of small gouges and stuff like that in it. So in the next episode we will be getting this front bumper painted and hopefully demasking the other car and popping it all back together. And we are pretty much there. I am still waiting for the exhaust, and I've probably got to order a few new badges and stuff if I can get them, but we are getting really close on this one. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because I'm looking at the stats on these videos and there's about 80% of my viewers aren't subscribed, so I do really want to try and get my subscriber base way up there. So in this episode today, we're going to be polishing up the bodywork, making that look nice and shiny, and we're also going to be sanding down the filler on the front bumper and hopefully getting that painted as well. So let's crack on with the polishing. I will show you a little bit of that first, and then we'll just skip through it to the next one of the jobs. So the whole car has been painted. It may not look it now, but it has been flatted back to get rid of a lot, if not all, of the orange peel and a few bits of dust that I got in it. What I have done, let me show you over here, I have given the roof one quick going over, and as you can see that is pretty good. There's still a few little scratch marks in there that I need to get rid of, but if we use some of the finer polish we should be able to get rid of all of those. As you can see, all the way down to there is where I have polished to at the moment. I've also done the passenger side rear quarter. Again, this does need another going over because you can see some light scratches in it there. And on the roof, again, this side it has been done. We do need to go over that again. But yeah, it is looking pretty fine. So this is one of the wings, and that is the finish out of the gun. It's not too bad, but I myself don't like orange peel. All that would need would be a good polish, and that would be pretty much good to go. But I am going to be flattening this back as well before I fit it to the car. Also done the wing mirrors. Once I've finished prepping the painted part, I'm going to have to take the masking tape off and paint the black part. And one towing eye cover. So as you can see, behind the scenes, I have been quite busy. We're now sort of in the final stages on the body. I don't think there's any parts I'm going to have to repaint. There may be a few areas I need to cut back a little bit more on the bottom of the doors and stuff like that. But pretty pleased with that, to be honest. You know, couldn't ask for it to have gone any better. So what's happening in this episode now, I'm going to be polishing the rest of the car and hopefully putting a few bits back on. So here's a little bit of a montage of me polishing the car and putting a few bits back on. As you can see, the bodywork is as dull as anything. There's very little orange peel. There's a few little bits here and a little bit there, but by the time you polish them up, you're never ever going to see them. So chuck a little bit of compound on that. Mix the compound round a bit. Make sure it's not too high. Now using a clean rag, so you can see scratches be gone. It does need a little bit more polishing, so let's give that another going over. There we go, I can now see my reflection in that. Scratches be gone, and it is nice, clean, scratch-free bodywork. Now been polishing just the bonnet for about, let's have a look at the time, for probably just over an hour and 10 minutes. And this is the result. It does still need more work, so bear with me. See, that's the bonnet. If you look close there, you can still see scratches. It's pretty much the same, in just a few spots where I need to pass it some more around here. Up these awkward bits here. So I'd probably say this bonnet needs about another 2 passes, so that could be anything sort of up to 2 more hours of polishing. That's just the bonnet. So the rest of the car is probably going to take me about another day and a half to polish. If you think you've got the wings, the bumpers, the roof's an awkward one to get to because you've got to reach over and it hurts your back. So when people moan about how much a respray costs for a good respray, they go, oh, £3,000, £5,000. It's the amount of work that goes into it. I mean, I've been on this car now, just the bodywork side of things, for getting on for 2 weeks now, and it's still nowhere near finished. So yeah, repaints are expensive if you want a good job. If you're paying somebody 800 quid to do a respray, you're not going to get a very good respray. So that is sort of the level of detail that has to go into something that looks that good, and it's not even finished. So it's now a few weeks later. It's probably 4 or 5 weeks later since I started filming this last segment in the video. I've been waiting for the exhaust to come, but while I've been waiting for that to come, I have put some bits back on the car. I've put the wings on, I've put the wing mirrors on, and a few other bits and bobs. So today I'm going to be fitting the exhaust and bleeding the brakes again, and probably a few other bits and bobs, but not too much more in this episode. We are nearing completion now, so I don't really want to show you too much of the bodywork. I just want to show you it all in the final episode in a few weeks' time, all finished, polished up and nice. So let's crack on doing the exhaust and move on to a few other jobs. Right, it seems okay. It is an Ismath exhaust, however you would like to say it. Quality seems pretty good. We've got the fitting kit that goes with it. The chrome tailpipe seems to be in one piece, but unfortunately we have had a little bit of damage on the end here. But luckily we can just tap that back into shape and we'll get a perfect seal again. So let's get the car even more up in the air and we shall start fitting it. Right, 1 clamp, 3 rubbers. Should we do this? Right, as access is going to be quite tight, I'm going to fit these on first. Right, so let's get it on the axle stand jack thing, gearbox jack. can do that afterwards because I'm going to have to, there's a hole in the body there where the nut's been pulled out. So, right, get this up first. Still got to repair this up here because it's falling down, but I will do that while the exhaust's on the car. Just enough room to poke a bolt through there. See if this will fit over this bent pipe okay, I'm pretty sure it will. So we're all done now, nothing too stressful really. Even that dent didn't cause any problems, that went straight on without any problems at all. I've just made sure that the clamps are sort of angled away from the road as much as possible so we don't catch on any speed humps. I can't put them all the way around because I think it would catch all up there, so normally to the side is plenty. It gives you lots of room for movement. So the last thing I've got to do, I'll do it off camera, we just repair this heat shield at the back here, give it somewhere better to secure against. I've refitted a lot of the body panels. Still need to sort out the headlights and polish a lot of the car still. Wing mirrors are done. Still need to polish all this side still. Fuel cap is now back from being repolished, so that needs refitting as well. But I'm going to get that polished first. Rear bumper is fitted, although looking rather grimy. I am a bit peed off because when I was refitting the bumper, I have caught the bottom of the wing there, so I'm going to have to do a repair on that there. But you know, it happens, unfortunately. We have got new tyres fitted to the vehicle. We have refitted the seals, which are all along here. Wing mirror is refitted on this side. So what's left to do? I've got to refit the front bumper. That is actually there on the trestle waiting to be refitted now. I've got to do the headlights, give the interior a very good clean because it's rather dirty. Refurbish the front badge, which I've started doing here. I've put some primer on it and covered up the chrome. What else? Yeah, still needs a really good polish all over. There's still quite a few flat spots, so we're getting there with it. So hopefully this is going to be the penultimate video on it, and next week it's going to be, in the next few weeks, it's going to be all finished. So I'm going to bolt everything back on, give it a good polish, and then we are pretty much good to go, I'm hoping. Yeah, I've got to repair that rear quarter. Hi guys, Neil at Italia Autos here. Welcome back to the final video on the Fiat Coupe. It's finally done. I have had a proper nightmare with it, and I'll talk you through that in a minute. So here we go guys, this is the finished Fiat Coupe. All the bodywork is nicely polished now. It took some doing, but we finally got there in the end with it. There are a few little things I wish I could have done, but the customer decided against doing it immediately anyway. So I would have loved to have refurbished the headlights, but I've just given them a quick polish just to brighten them up a little bit. And I would have also loved to refurbish the alloy wheels because they are looking rather tired and dull, unfortunately. But we have repainted the brakes, we've done all the bodywork, repainted the mirrors. I think the last thing I need to do is probably clean the windows again because they are looking rather grubby. So there we go, that is the Fiat Coupe all done. So one of the first problems I had with it was when I was taking it for its MOT, which was its first proper drive since I've even had it, and the clutch was slipping. So we had to do the clutch as well, but I had to wait a few weeks for the ramp to become free. And yeah, we take the clutch off, we've got a cracked clutch plate, and the friction plate was almost down to the metal. So that was done and changed. And also, just before I was taking it for its MOT, it was starting to be a little bit rough, and the idle was a bit pants when I was starting it from cold, but as soon as it warmed up a bit, it was driving perfectly fine. So thought it would have been the throttle sensor, but we changed that, and the one I actually first ordered was leaking, so I had to order another one. Fitted that, still doing it. So I was like, there's nothing else really wrong with it. My computer didn't want to connect to the ECU, but we didn't have any warning lights on anyway. So what it turned out to be was the car just needed a really good run, because it was all just blocked up and just fed up of idling. So we're all sorted now, we're all ready to go. So where I'm at now, the car is now undercover, and it can stay like that until the weekend when the customer comes to pick it up. So that is it guys, the Fiat Coupe is all done. I'm on a bit of a roll at the minute. That's the third one this week I've got finished. Just need to advertise and sell the GTA now, and I'll be one happy chappy. So thank you guys for sticking with me on this one. It's been what, 10 months we've been doing this for. So I'm glad it's all done now and it can go back to its owner. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.